Hello, welcome to Talking Utter Slot, the Slot Car podcast. I'm Scott, the old one with a grey beard, and here's my co-host, also old with a grey beard. It's Pedro.
Good afternoon, everybody.
It was the UK Slot Car Festival just a few days ago. Hundreds of slot car fans came together to chat, race, and most of all to buy slot cars. New ones, old ones, toy ones, and very, very precious ones. Pedro and I were there, me to walk around and chat and buy, Pedro to race in the Polycar Classic Grand Prix. You'll find out how we both got on shortly. So, Pedro, have you calmed down after the excitement of Gaydon? In fact, you had quite an exciting time getting there, didn't you?
I had mechanical troubles before I was even in the race. that's and I wasn't even on a warm-up lap. So,
although things were getting too warm.
Things were getting too warm.
You best explain.
Long story short, going to Oxford on Tuesday, Oxford Scalextric Club on Tuesday night, hit a massive pothole just outside of Ramsden. Fortunately, just outside of Ramsden. And very quickly, I had a low coolant warning light come on. And my fuel economy reading thing just was going haywire. So pulled up, figured that we were in the village hall for 2 hours, so things would cool down, have a look-see. As I peered underneath, there was no gushing fluids anywhere. So I just thought, wait till it cools down. So we race, I come out, still no puddles underneath the car, so don't know what that was. Then have a look under the hood, bonnet for us in Europe, and lo and behold, my coolant levels had gone drastically low, way below the minimum. So with a little, 250cc bottle of Evian, I go backwards and forwards from the toilets in the village hall, topping it up, drive home, bish bosh bash. Head out, look the next day, and the coolant level is fine. Head out to Gaydon on the Saturday morning, and it's hideous traffic on the A34, crawling along, and I begin to think, can I smell coolant? I think I can smell coolant. Pulled in, had a look. No, the levels were still okay. Crawled another couple of 100 meters, and I could see some steam coming out of the front. So fortunately, right at the place, I could pull right off the road onto a little B road. Did that, opened the hood. Lo and behold, coolant levels disappearing quite rapidly. And so I just sat there, messaged you and said, don't think I'm going to make it, Scott. After all that hub preparation, all that money on hubs, and it looked like I was defeated. However, I thought, Achtung, Panzer, I will let this thing cool down, and I will... fortunately, I had some coolant in the car because of what had happened on Tuesday. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to, just in case, I'm going to take some.
You should, for mental picture type, what car were you driving? You haven't said.
Oh, this was the Jag. This was the Jag.
So for
I sent you a picture. You could put it on the YouTube. I sent you a picture of a Jag.
Not just for overseas listeners, and also for UK ones, because I want to picture you, an elderly man in a classic Jag, driving from Oxford. So it's so Inspector Morse, it's not true. So picture Inspector Morse driving towards slot car, but he's thwarted. Anyway, so you go back home in the wounded Jag, and then what?
Yeah, let it cool down, topped it up, drove home, and then I just thought, okay, let's get Das Panzer out. And so I got Das Panzer out, and she's an old girl. She's a 38-year-old W123 coupe, and she's reliable and analog, and I toddled off. And I said to somebody, I don't think I'll be there before 12, and I don't go too fast in Das Panzer. But I got there, I think, about 5 minutes too, and I was desperately trying to phone people, and nobody was picking up their phones. Understandably, they were all busy in the slot car festival. But you got me in. I got to the Polycar section. I said, am I too late? And they said, no. And I said, well, I've missed scrutineering. And they said, let's have a look at your car. And I just sort of waved it vaguely in possibly Conti Rowland's face, Andy. And can't remember if it was him for sure. And they went, yeah, it looks all right. And all that stress about having the right hubs, all that stress about getting the width right on the track. And it's like, yeah, it looks all right. So top tip, if you want to beat the scrutineers, arrive late.
Dodgy.
Dodgy, very dodgy. But that means I got to race, and I want to thank publicly that Conti Roland off slotforum.com. Other forums are available; they're just not as good. And John Underwood for setting it up, and Maurizio for all that he did, and I think PSR were quite Pendle Slot Racing were heavily involved as well, and it was brilliant fun. I was full of fear that I was going to be so seriously outclassed and so seriously humiliated, and also, how do I put this delicately? I probably can't, can I? I just thought there might be some weapons grade, geeky behaviour going on. And actually, everyone was charming and delightful and very pleasant, very helpful. And I had a wonderful time. My first race, because I was late arriving, I was one of the last heats. I think it was the last heat. And all that time, all that money on hubs, widths, running in the motor, I completely ignored my braids. And I figured I had some kind of major issue with my controller. Oh, True Speed were there, and I said hello to Mr. True Speed, who's a very nice gentleman. So my first race was diabolical. I think I did 3 laps of shame after everyone else had finished. I just thought, oh god, I was so nervous. I don't know.
It was just 2. It was just 2. I was marshalling. It was just 2.
It felt like 10, I have to tell you. I was so nervous. It was ridiculous, like a little schoolgirl giddy with the excitement. But then I realised it was my braids, or rather, I think that John Underwood realised it was my braids, had a little tinker with the braids, put it on the track for my next race, and come on, get in there. I won the next 3 heats that I had. So that's the kind of level of competition I was talking.
It was mighty impressive. I think it was Mick Kerr who tipped you off about the breeds, actually.
Was it? Thank you, Mick
Kerr. I think so, anyway. Yeah, no, you did. And you did. I thought
you were going to say you did surprisingly well, you bugger.
No. Well,
surprisingly.
Bear in mind, the first heat was dire. So you then bolted off and won the second one fantastically, and then that set the trend, and you were away you go.
Yeah.
And then later on, when you came and we said, "Oh, how did you get on?" and you said you were 14th, I think it was.
Yep.
I couldn't understand how you'd won 3 heats. Okay, you had a mare and the other one, but it's because rather than scoring the heats, they were doing cumulative time.
Yeah, they were doing it the wrong way. We've discussed this before, haven't we? But they were doing it on time, overall times, and I just don't play that game. If I get to the front, as I did 3 times, did I mention that I was at the front 3 times?
It was 3 times, yeah.
It was 3 times. When I get to the front, if ever I get to the front, I get so nervous that I'm at the front that I just go, right, throttle back, get yourself a bit of a gap, throttle back, and just bring it home. I like to think of myself, generously maybe, but I like to think of myself as rather in the same vein as Alain Prost, who just wanted to win at the slowest possible speeds. And I think he and I are kindred souls on that one.
Jolly good.
Don't just jolly good that. You're supposed to say, yeah, you are like Alain Prost.
What, largely disrespected and hated? No, that's no. Yes, he's an interesting character, Mr. Prost.
Yeah, sure. They all are in their own way.
They all are. There's a bit of a character flaw, isn't it, for them to do it in the first place? But the crucial thing is you had fun.
I had. Once I got over the nerves, once I'd won my second race. Did I mention I won 3 races?
No, it's best repeating it just in case someone's been off having a cup of tea or something. I don't know.
I almost got in a groove, and I certainly was enjoying it. It's hard to say without gushing, but it was nothing like the atmosphere I was expecting, and everyone was delightful. And it was fun. It was genuinely fun. So at the risk of the entry being too big, I would recommend it to anyone to have a go, because it's not as bad as you might be thinking it is. And I just regret now, don't tell him, don't let him know. But John's sort of nudged me to do this for several years now. And I've always said, no. I don't want to be associated with those kind of people. And now I'm almost sending my deposit to that Conti Roland tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow because I'm hooked now. It was fun, genuine fun.
Well, that's good, and it's encouraging because and it's interesting that when you race every other week or something, don't you? You're
Yeah.
no stranger to club racing and things, and yet you were still nervous about it. So
That's because I was amongst people who I mean, there were one or two notably fast boys. My God, there were one or two, and there was one car, I won't name names, but I just thought, did he make scrutineering? How did he make scrutineering with that? That's got a rocket ship in it, rocket ship motor in it. So there were people who were taking it very seriously and were fully prepared and had sorted their braids out and had got the right hubs. And then there was me. But it is a lovely atmosphere. The Concourse stuff that was on display there was amazing. The other revelation to me was the Polycar track, which I had kind of expected might be a bit clacky. Clickety clackety, clickety clackety. I know you've said it isn't, you haven't noticed it, but I really didn't notice any clickety clack at all. And I thought that was the downside of Polycar. Also, the surface didn't look as gritty as it does in a lot of photos. It looked, in some photos it looks gritty and like there's a pattern that repeats. There is a pattern that repeats, but it isn't so obvious in the flesh. So lots of revelations, basically.
Well, there you go. I think I commented that the track looked less shiny than mine at home, but I guess that's because it's used much more. I mean, I don't know what the track does the rest of the year.
I asked, it sits around. I asked somebody, and I believe it's only used. It's only been used about 4 times in its life. But I believe it's prototype Polycar track, not the final manufactured stuff. However, it probably came out the same molds. Surely, I don't think they.
Well, it looks the same, and it works, and it's great, and it's lovely that it got donated and everything. So it's good. No, well, it was. I think you did. Yes, you did very well, and we were all watching, and there was a little bit of joshing going on. So there was gentle joshing.
For which he means they were taking the pee out of me, dear listener.
No, we didn't have to because you finished 2 laps down in the first heat.
Hang on. Let's not concentrate on that. Let's concentrate on the 3 wins. Did I mention I got 3 wins?
You have several times. That's good. So, flushed with this enthusiasm for public competition, does that mean I can convince you to come to Abergavenny for the slot rally then?
No, because that's slot rally. I don't do slot rally.
No, it's boring.
Next
it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun.
No,
it is. So. Have you ever?
No, I like. Here we go. There was some dude who I think had a fast car. He also had a T-shirt with some kind of skull and crossbone on it that was kind of intimidating. I have to say, and he was pretty quick. And I think it might have been the 3rd or final race that I had with these guys. We were racing for multiple laps. I mean, there was at least. I went out in front. Did I mention that? Yeah, I went out in front. Then I had some kind of issue, and they all closed up on me. And I think we had 4 laps where we were all 1st, 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th as well. We were all within a nanosecond of one another, and it was really exciting. And the guy said afterwards, "That was brilliant racing. Thank you very much." And same back to you. That was good fun.
It is. I remember when I first go to club racing, and you get sort of 2 or 3 cars which are lapping sort of happily beside each other, as it were, so without knocking each other off. It is quite thrilling. I think thrilling because you expect to be knocked off at any moment. So yeah, but anyway,
I'm not going to say anything about my reputation at Oxford for knocking people off. However, I have a reputation at Oxford for knocking people off, so I was on best behaviour.
Oh right, well, everybody seemed to be. I didn't hear any kind of angry words from people.
There weren't even angry words said against that Wayne Gobble and his nightmare marshalling.
Well, I don't know who Wayne is. Although I was standing watching, at some point I ended up marshalling because although the other racers are meant to marshal, the crowd seemed to evaporate.
Yes.
So I was marshalling a bit of the track or an end of the track. But anyway,
someone would call out "marshals, please," and all these people watching would quickly about face and head for the door. It's quite amusing.
It is interesting. It's anyway that was good. You mentioned the concourse section, which to explain. So on a Saturday you were in the Polycar Grand Prix, which, as it sounds, Polycar Grand Prix cars, with as many hubs as you wanted to bring. But the Sunday was for sort of scratch built, kit built.
No.
Classic.
No. Saturday morning was what I did, and then Saturday afternoon was what you're talking about. Sunday was all about DTMs.
Oh, sorry, I got my
Yeah, yeah.
timescales wrong. But anyway, the Concourse. So these were all, I mean, mostly kind of 70s, I
Yeah,
think, cars. But there was a few. The spread was quite impressive, and but beautiful models.
they were.
And what I hadn't appreciated was that the Polycar drivetrain, that sort of step down gear, has sort of and the motor pod to kind of revolutionised that side of the hobby, because you can fit these things in on low underneath the bodywork of, so these cars look like scale models much more than they ever used to. Wonderful
And
stuff.
in our pre-show chat, I said maybe this isn't the. I think this is the right place to mention it, but we're going to talk about the Scalextric prototypes, and I had a wee chat with Simon, and there was the Lotus 79 there, and he said he has already, before it's released, he has sent one to that Conti Roland, so he can immediately start putting a design together to get the Polycar transmission into that Lotus 79, which I think is part of what makes Simon such a great brand manager, whatever his job title is. He's on the ball. He knows what we want, and he's prepared to, working for a toy manufacturer, he's going to try and do his best for us, which I appreciate.
No, it's good. It's and I think he's doing it for the both cars. I think the Lotus and the Brabham. So I don't think it was just the.
Oh
just
yeah,
the
which had the
Lotus.
working fan. Mhm.
Yeah, no, those are good. Beautiful segue into Scalextric
No,
having
no.
the
Again,
whole
Scott.
range.
No, no. It's not beautiful. It was seamless.
Seamless. Well, it was until I pointed it out.
And
So
then I interrupted you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Scalextric had, they were the sponsor of the event, so thank you very much. But they had a booth there, and amazingly, and I genuinely am amazed and grateful, they had a long section of track, two long sections of track, I don't know, so maybe 4 meters long, and they had all of the new cars, including prototypes, so it was 3D printed, i.e. the Lady Penelope Fab 1 was there. And people could just walk up, pick them up, touch them, look at them, which is amazing, even if they were production models, never when these were new sort of prototypes, etc. Really appreciate that, get a chance to touch the things. And based on a sample of one, i.e. me, it worked, because at the beginning of the year when we saw the range announcement and I wrote down all the things I fancied getting, and there was about, I don't know, half a dozen of them, I was trying to be good. Coming back on that, I thought, yeah, I'm going to have to get that. I'm going to have to get that because I've seen it, held it. It looks good. So I'm going to buy more of those cars as a direct result of that. But interestingly enough, so a couple of things I think we have to talk about from there. The sheer size of Fab One.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It doesn't just look like it's 120. It's huge. I mean, it seems to be more than half the width of the track. So you're not going to be racing two Fab
Fabs
Ones.
against.
Why would you? But anyway, and of course that's not the point of it. What I thought was fantastic was the detail on the interior with the Parker and Lady Penelope and the
Yep.
seats.
Parker
And although
looked
this
brilliant.
was yeah, and it wasn't a painted. This was I think it was 3D resin or something. So it was a kind of a grey, greeny color. It wasn't anything attractive, but the detail looked superb. So obviously that'll be painted up before it goes on sale. But great. Now I'd said I wasn't going to get one of those, but I think that's going to be difficult to resist when it comes along.
It's yeah. I think that and the Landies. Did you see the Landies? That
Oh,
Dave
I did.
Kennedy is so wrong on the Landies. They are going to be a global sensation, and I say it now: car of the year, car of the year,
Another
2023.
car of the year.
Mhm.
So the current leaderboard for car of the year is a Land Rover.
He had 4 versions there, and I think I said a while back they could do all sorts of different versions on that, and they looked.
But
Only one actually had the drivetrain in, I think, but it looked. I kept picking it up and saying, "This looks like a Britain's die-cast model. It looks fantastic, and it's going to run. Admittedly, possibly quite slowly, but it's going to run." So I'm definitely having one of them.
the audience, please bear with me. I'm just going to indulge myself because I'm going to point out to Pedro, who famously and repeatedly and only last episode said he's no interest in road cars. He's only interested in competition cars.
No,
but
nah.
he's waxing.
But
yes,
but
yeah.
that's not a road car, is it? It's a field car. It's a farmer's car for going across fields, so that's fine. Did you or somebody else tell me that Simon has promised never to do a golf liveried version?
He did put a comment on one of the forums after the
that
show.
was
But
it.
we joked. We said, what you said they would do lots of different versions, and we said inevitably a Gulf livery, and he said that he's left note that that's never to happen.
I will try and find that. You'll have to send me a link to that, and I'll reply. But what else did they have? Did you see? Oh my God, they had so much good looking stuff. Oh, the Mirage. He was talking about the Mirage and the fact that they have tried to build the body. It's a Sidewinder, and they've tried to build the body in such a way that you'll get a bit of body float and yada yada. So again, he's aware of what the awkward brigade want and is trying to accommodate us. There was also, I sent you a link, a fantastic official Scalextric's video of the Cozze going around the track. Fully sideways, magnet out, fully sideways, and unlike Scalextric's Cozzies of the past, it wasn't falling over. It was bashing the barriers and heading on down the straight. I don't want one, but I thought it was impressive.
Well, I've already ordered one of those, so that's I was very, and the magnet comes out of mine the minute they arrive. So I'm not surprised. They run pretty nicely without the magnet. Actually, I mean they don't tip over.
They must tip over. They must be more tippy than a.
You just slow down a bit for the corners. It's called driving. Anyway, other thing. Well, I think other things. The usually the Land Rovers, the
Cobras.
There was some Cobras. Chance to hold the Cobras.
Weren't they pretty?
That's definitely an example of where I'd gone. Yeah, I don't need the Nub Cobra. I've got Reprotec, and I've got a Ninku one, and I've got who other made somebody else made a Cobra in the past, haven't they? So I thought I don't need any more Cobras. But was it Revo?
I don't know. I just fired
anyway. I know, yeah. But I think I definitely need one or two of those. They look very, very nice.
I don't think you need the open top one because the windscreen looks wrong. Looks huge. It's like a massive wind. It looks like the windscreen from Fab 1 on a Cobra.
I think if we Google that, we might find that's how they ran, because they were the Targa Florio or something. Those cars. I didn't compare those with the other ones, but certainly the cars with the roof on looked absolutely spot on.
They look beautiful little models. Sadly, front engine though.
Well, not sadly. These are fine. It's fine. Not everything has to drive the same. Not everything has to drive the same. The other news that we speculated about was the club car, which was announced. So the Scalextric's club car for 2024. You had hoped it wasn't going to be another Ford after Capris and Escorts, and your wish was granted. I don't think it was your wish they took into account, but nevertheless, you'll be happy to hear it's a Mini, a classic Mini. In an interesting Castrol livery, raced by I think a Belgian chap. So not something. I don't think it was that Belgian chap. No, there are other Belgians. Strange as it might seem. But anyway, there are other Belgians. But look, very attractive. And I thought, I'll probably join the club or rejoin the club then to get that.
And my comment to you, I think, was it's a pretty car, but not enough of interest for me. But I can see that being quite a success with the club because he's doing interesting liveries. There you go, 23 minutes in, liveries. Paying out on 23 minutes and I think 22 seconds.
How long did that take? And we've only got to Scalextric. So what else did you see? What caught your eye?
What caught my eye? Not a lot of racer for sale, but did you see near the Mario Brothers stall, there was in a cabinet the Sideways M4 and the new K3, and I think they're doing the 3.5 CSL. There was I've got a picture of it. I'll give it to you for the YouTube. There was those three, and I was pleased to see them. That M4 is such an ugly thing, but do I actually have to have one just for the sake of completion? I don't know. But the Batmobile looked good.
Oh, the BM.
CSL. Sorry, yeah. Not the actual Batmobile.
Well, there are another because there's a new Batmobile from Scalextric as well.
Back to Scalextric, yeah. That's a mad looking thing. I wasn't excited by that at all. But then I'm not excited by Batman generally.
Well, whereas you, that movie, I bought a Tiny Robin.
You did?
I bought a Tiny Robin. So those of you who may know, so couple years ago, Scalextric did what I consider to be the definitive Batmobile, the one from the 60s TV series. And I guess for licensing or cost reasons, it had a Batman, but it didn't have a Robin, it had an empty seat. Which, of course, was true. Sometimes Batman went out in the car on his own, so it's not entirely inaccurate. However, there's a company make little figures called, I'm going to get this wrong, so forgive me, I think it's 132 model, they're called. And I've seen them on Tinternet and thought, do I really want one of those? I don't know. The benefit of going to Slot Car Festival is you're wandering around. There they have a table displaying, and they do lots of figures. And one of them was the Tiny Robin, and I thought, yep, I've got to have one of those. It's really good. Absolutely matches the Batman perfectly for scale and colour tone, and it looks like it was part of the set. And so I bought that, 12 quid. Is that much for a figure? A little bit, but anyway, 12 quid. He's been glued into the Batmobile already, and it looks fantastic.
12 quid painted?
12 quid painted.
Wow. I thought that was 12 quid and you had to paint it yourself. Wow, that's quite impressive. Because did you notice, once you mentioned that you'd picked him up, I was looking for them. Me being a boy. Did you see the Cannonball Run ladies and their Lamborghini? One of which is actually the little 1/32 figure appears to be unzipping her jumpsuit. How giddy was I? Sad little man. But I thought, I was going to say they were 24 quid, but presumably you get the two. Was one of them Farrah Fawcett? I'm off. Bring it back.
I can't remember. Bring it back. I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember. What I resisted, and probably won't in the fullness of time, was a Steve McQueen figure from that
doing
film.
the V's.
Doing the V's, which we referenced a couple of shows ago.
Yeah, that was great.
And I thought him in my pit lane. So yeah, I think
he almost looks. How good the figures are. He does. The little figure does quite look like Steve McQueen,
like you.
More like me, yeah, obviously. It's uncanny the number of times. I mean, just walking around Gaydon, somebody said, "Excuse me, you Steve McQueen?" I thought they were really good representations. We're not sponsored by 132 models or anything, but they do good stuff.
Yeah, no, it was lovely. Another thing that caught my eye, talking of British cottage industries, was a tyre truer made by, now I'm going to have to read this because I'll get it wrong, Swift 16, who apparently, and I knew nothing about them when I saw it there, they're predominantly model railway equipment, running gear manufacturers, but the guy's, like everybody really, he likes his slot cars, and he's made a tyre truer. Now, the significance is it looks very robust. It's sort of resin, and it's got a brass arm for the arm that comes out to hold it, and axles on big powerful motor, all the usual stuff. Now, it was 130 quid, which is, well, it strike me, it's too much to go, yeah, I'll have one of those. But it's only a couple of cars, really. But it's less than I've seen for some other robust tyre truers. But,
well, I exclaimed, but of course, hypocrite that I am, I paid 120 second hand for mine. So what am I talking about? I saw that briefly it was near to the True Speed stand. Once again, I shook the man's hand and thanked him for repairing mine. And I think Mr. True Speed is the same as the Mario brothers. I think those two companies, they stand by their products and they give good old-fashioned good service. But I think that truer was close to him, if not on his stand, I thought, True Speed. And it looked dangerously 3D printed to me.
No, I'll put some pictures on the YouTube thing. No, I think, well, certainly the brass bit is cast, obviously, I would imagine. So, no, it's interesting. I've never got a tyre truer. I've used lots of sandpaper and stuff. But it does, for that, you think, would it be worth having one just to the side so when I get a car, I can just go zzz. Having spent yesterday, in fact, Sunday, for reasons that I can't remember now, I got my Falcon Slot Cars 908-3 out to run, which has always been an annoyance of a car because it bounces around all over the place and then there's axle sticks and blah, blah, blah. And I finally took it apart enough to think, well, I'm going to try and make this run properly. And it's got a doubly adjusted front axle height, so grub screws from the top and the bottom. So I got it to not rub. But what I noticed was it wasn't just that the axle was bouncing around. is that the front tyres have got a huge bulge on the inside rim, which I almost to the point where I thought it had something under the tyre. It was that, but it wasn't that. So I had to rub and rub and rub and rub and rub. And one of the things I use for my sort of cheap amateur touring is a bit of belt sander, which is cut into a strip. So it's a bit like a 12-inch ruler. And I was sanding away on this tyre lump and managed to catch my index finger, which is why I'm presently wearing an old-fashioned elastoplast, because I literally spilt blood in the interest of making a Falcon Slot 908 go better. And it was worth it. It's not perfect, but it goes better.
I did not know that the Falcon Slot were just an offshoot of Fly, weren't they? I think, and I didn't realise they did grub screws on the front. Interesting.
Me neither, and I've had the thing for about 10 years. But anyway,
yeah, but you get things delivered in the post and you don't open them. Rather, like you once had a castle delivered in the post to you and you've never opened it. I sent you a link. Did you see that link I sent you of a man
I did.
with a castle?
That
has clearly opened his.
That's no castle. That's a mere gatehouse compared to what I bought. But
well, you don't know because you haven't opened the box.
Oh, I do. I know how big the box is.
Well, if I come round, we open that box. We'll have an unboxing. We must video that. No, we mustn't. No.
Well, no one else is going to have a castle unboxing.
I mean, we'll corner the market.
YouTube gold.
Castle
YouTube gold. Especially appropriate in this coronation year. You talking about that little row where you saw True Speed and the thing, I think that was kind of there was it's a big room, just to paint a picture, a big room with tables and lots of slot cars on it from different traders, fairly standard swap meet stuff. Back half of it had some tracks and the drag strip and things which were all running and people were having goes on. But there was a kind of strip in the middle which had little marquees, little orange not marquees, what's the word I'm looking for?
Marquees.
Pagoda little things. The sort of thing you would have outside, but they were indoors. Anyway, created a little sort of shop type effect. And in there were a lot of the kind of overseas visitors in that area, weren't there? So there was Slotted was there, the Scale Auto was there, some Scale Auto track. I was pleased to see that. I hadn't physically touched Scale Auto track. They had the Mitsubishis, they had a couple of them, which looked very good. I'm definitely going to have to get one of those. So there's a little run of kind of exotic stuff, and I think it's a good thing about the Slot Festival. Although not everybody comes from overseas to it for understandable reasons, but a lot of people did make the effort, and it's great to see them there. Hobby Classic were there, Slot Affair were there. I even saw a bit of celeb media, slot car media. I saw Marco from Electric Dreams, and I said, "Hello, I'm Scott from Talking Auto Slot," and he went, "What?"
Is he a celeb? I thought you were going to talk about Vincent from Australia coming over.
Didn't see Vincent. There was no sign. Couldn't find him.
Is anywhere. That because, bless her, Ms. Scale got it wrong, and it wasn't Vincent from Australia after all, but actually Travis from Australia.
And you call yourself a gentleman. How dare you point out that such a nice lady got it? Yeah, the truth is, for background, we'd asked Julie Scale just for some info on what was going to be there. And she sent me a message very kindly, and she said, "Oh, and Vincent from Australia." So we talked about Vincent from Australia. It turns out she meant Travis. It is from Australia.
Easy mistakes to make.
But presently lives in Austria, I think. But Travis. So I did see Travis from a distance, but I didn't want to go up because I think if I went up to him and said, "Hello, Vincent," he wouldn't have got the joke.
Get away from me, you lousy pom.
Do you know, it's amazing how you're not getting more television work with that.
or TV advert voiceover work.
TV advert voice. It can only be a matter of time. Yeah.
Talking of Continentals coming over, Julie also tipped us the wink that Brad from America was coming over, and I didn't speak to Brad from America. I did several circuits and completely missed several rooms. I didn't see the full-size RS200, sadly, but I walked past Brad from America, who was representing Professor Motor, a couple of times, and I just thought, I mean, in the podcast before, I think I said Brad from America, he sounds like he will be full-on American, named Brad, He's from America. He's going to be full on American. And as I went past, there was this American drawl. He was sat behind a whole load of sort of what I would say were old 60s, 70s type slot car stuff from the golden era as far as American commercial racing is concerned. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. To me, it was. And he was drawing on, and he was wearing one of those bowling shirts that you see a lot of American bowling teams wear. And each time I went past, he was drawling in American about some such or other. And I just thought, priceless. You are exactly what I expected of you. Congrats.
Well, I did have a chat to Brad at the end, actually, on Sunday before we did a last lap round in case we'd missed anything when the crowds had gone. And he was sitting, so I went up and said hello and explained how Julie had told us that he was coming. And absolutely lovely, charming man.
Yeah,
it was
he
a
sounded
great
it.
conversation. And so really, and he's over to do the Bordeaux Classic races over in Europe to do that, and he's a sort of friend of the family of Professor Motor, and has sort of worked there from time to time, I gather, and he's happy to represent them. But what was fascinating, and again, this is radio, television on radio, so dear listener, you'll have to picture this. He had a row of painted 1/24th open face helmets, and a slightly smaller row, as it would be, of 1/32nd open face helmets, beautifully painted. And it turns out it was his brother had wanted to get involved in doing something, so he'd encouraged him to do some research and paint these helmets for models. And they're fantastic. I really love it. I mean, it needs pictures to do it justice rather than me waffling on. And he sells them all over the world, and they're quirky things like, not only was there a Chris Amon one, which of course doubles up as being Pete Aaron from the Grand Prix film, as in played by James Garner, there's also James Garner's helmet that he used when he actually went racing. James Dean, the helmet James Dean would wear. So great, not obvious stuff like Graham Hill, etc., Jackie Stewart, but quirky other stuff as well. Very lovely. Lovely bloke. Nice to meet him.
I just can't get as excited as you about helmets, Scott.
This is true.
Let's leave that hanging.
Let's leave it there.
Brad, I didn't notice the little driver figures. I would have been very interested in that. What I did notice, picked up and waved around as he was talking in his fantastic American accent to somebody. And I stood there, waved this thing a little bit and waved it. But I'm so goddamn British that I couldn't say, excuse me, how much is this? But he had a very interesting livery on a Revo Galaxy. And I've got this thing about Revo Galaxies at the moment, even though I haven't got mine to go. Yeah, I just love a bit of Yank Tank sometimes. Anyhow, yeah, a bit of stuff about Professor Motor and Brad from America. Thank you for coming over.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I'll tell you what else caught my eye. I spotted on the back of the Pendle stall the Revo Slot Alphas, which I have a love-hate relationship with. And I got closer to one of them, picked it up even, and the hate became full on because I just looked at it and thought, those headlights, I cannot live with those headlights. I wanted this car so badly. No, that had sealed me. I wasn't going to buy a Revo Slot Alpha. And then by chance I went onto the Slot Car Passion website and saw that the new ones coming out have quad lights at the front. They've gone away with it's possibly a slightly different model. I don't know my Alphas. And they've got quad lights, and they're not just big, empty, silvered holes. So that one's back on the possible shopping list when they actually release them.
I'm just surprised you could pick it up because it's so low to the ground. How can you get your fingers underneath it?
It's a wee little thing. It's lovely. It is lovely. It does ride way too low. That looks silly, but it is a lovely thing. Alphas of that era, beautiful, beautiful cars.
Now, two questions. The one I want you to answer second, I'll ask first, which is what did you buy? But before you tell me that, what did you want to buy but didn't? What did you leave behind?
I wanted to buy the Paul Ricard Maserati GT3, but it hasn't been released yet. And I actually went to the Slotted stall. I camped out and I had my protest sign with me. I said, when are we going to get this? And one of the Mario brothers looked at me very bemused, almost like he didn't think they were making it. And then I think there was a Mrs. Mario sat at the desk. And she actually said, well, we've had a delivery. I've just had a message. We had a delivery yesterday, Friday, at the office. So there's more stuff coming. And I can only hope that the Paul Ricard Maserati GT3 is amongst them, because it's been so long, and that I would have bought. I did pick up the slot outlet from eBay. They were there, as they often are at these swap meets. They support them quite well. They had the white Maserati GT3 for $39.99, and I was sore tempted by it. I think they had another one, the red and black one, possibly for $49. Good prices both, and I was sore tempted, but I didn't buy them. I also didn't buy, although I picked it up off the pile of them that was on the Pendle stall, a Shadow DN4. God, they had mountains of them, and nobody was picking them up bar me.
You're exaggerating again, aren't you? They had about half a dozen, I think. But anyway,
they had more than half a dozen. They were expecting a stampede, and they just got me, pick it up, go, and putting it down again. Actually, it looked, I couldn't see it properly. I was slightly disappointed they didn't have one out of the box, but it does look a crisp, peachy model.
Okay.
But I just don't want one.
But what did you actually buy? You haven't told us what you actually bought yet.
That's what I left behind. What did you leave behind? Oh, 2 questions, wasn't it? Yeah, forgot about that. Well, off of my shopping list, I managed to find, I think it was dualcircuits.co.uk.com. They had a Chrono SRC Capri, and I've been watching those on eBay for a while. About 85 quid. I just couldn't commit to that. 85 quid. Picked up this box on his stall, and I couldn't believe my eyes, and I did have my glasses with me. It said 62. So I snapped that up, and it's here, dear listener, imaginary Canadians, the 2 Americans, and that guy in Sweden. It's a peachy thing. I love it. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it is a peachy thing.
I should describe for those that he's presently stroking his Capri. It's probably why that odd noise has happened. Anyway, well, I literally got through the door, turned left, spoke to a couple of people, and I was at the scale models stand, and I looked down and saw a car that, I want that. I'm not going to buy it. I've literally walked through the door, walked along a little bit further on the scale model stand. So 2 more models I wanted. And I thought, no, I can't buy them now. And I moved along a little bit, and there was another 2 cars that I wanted. I thought, no, I can't buy them now. I'm literally 5 minutes through the door. I must walk round. So I went further round and saw lots of people. And actually, the key thing about this slot fest was there for 7 hours and never really stopped talking to people. It was great. Saw lots of people I haven't seen for a very long time. Some people I've seen very recently as well. And it was good. And if anything, that's as much of the fun as seeing the track. I didn't drive on any tracks, which was a shame. But anyway, having done all of that, and it must have gone for a couple of hours, I thought, right, I'm going back, thinking the fates will have intervened. Someone else will have bought these, and that'll save me money. But the fates were obviously intervening on my behalf because they were all still there. So I got the Scalextric's classic Mercedes SLR Uhlenholt, if that's how I pronounce it, which I'd been looking at on eBay because I've got the race version, and this is very pretty. It's lovely. I got a mint, but not in a box, RS 200, the radio paging livery, which I don't have. What else did I got? I got, just funny, I know
there was a BMW
M1. BMW M1, black Kenwood livery, very nice,
and a Ferrari P4.
Now the P4 turned out to be an interesting choice. It was clearly marked as used and all that. I don't know complete at all, but the top doesn't match the bottom. So somebody has changed the chassis plate, and you can only tell really because the bottom of the roundel and the number doesn't line up slightly, and it's not quite got the right paint.
So it's not a white. Did they do a white one and someone's put a red body on
it's
top?
a red one. So the car that I bought, the body is red with the blue stripe over it, and the wheels, which have got blue on the rims, as they should have. But the sort of underpan bit, which on that model slightly curls up a little bit, The only difference would be where the white roundel kind of lines up, and you can see where the bottom of the number would be. And I would only spotted it because I was taking it apart to take the magnet out and things. So it was quite. So it's obviously had an interesting life. But as I say, I got it at a very good price. It's fine. I'm quite happy with it. I'll keep my eye out for the right bottom in some swap meet somewhere, and give me something to search on.
Grow up.
Yeah. So that was it. So I got four cars and a tiny Robin.
That doesn't sound right. Yeah, I was slightly surprised I only picked up the one. Did I say this earlier? I probably said it in the chat. The swap meets seem to just be at the completely wrong time for me. There's stuff that's announced, and it isn't yet on the shelves, and so I go hoping to see it, and I don't, and I'm slightly disappointed. But you can't be disappointed at the Slot Car Fest because there was so much to see. If for me not to buy, I hope the dealers had a good day. I've never been on a Saturday, and it was, I think, considerably busier than I would expect it to have been had I been on the Sunday. I don't know if that's traditional that the Saturday's always busier, but it looked really healthy. So I do hope it was a big success.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the guys might tell us. I think it certainly deserves to be. There's a lot of effort goes in, not just people bringing things to sell. They expect them to make an effort, but it's all there. There's lots of cars, but there was loads of tracks. I mean, there was just so many tracks that you could go and have a play on. Everything from just tracks that were laid down to the ones you were having a race on, to displays of Minic with railway. I mean, there was a whole room.
I'm not going to lie.
That was fantastic.
I always find it amusing that the Minic stuff is there because it is slot, I suppose, but it's not racing, is it? It's just these things run. Oh, can you vary the speed? Presumably you can.
It's got a thumb throttle.
It has got a throttle, but it's not racing, is it? It's the road car nonsense.
It's racing. No, there's racing cars. It's lovely.
Right, it's road. Are there? Oh, they do. There were race cars. Yeah. Oh, I apologise.
Very. I nearly bought it, but I only didn't because I think I've got one in the loft somewhere. But there was a catalogue for Minic, which I remember very clearly as a kid because I was given Minic rather than Scalextrics as a child, which may explain the subsequent addiction to Scalextrics. But the catalogue had painted illustrations of the cars, the models, but also very exciting sort of fantasy race situations. The catalogue itself is a glory of late 60s illustrative art, sort of Corvettes with sort of chrome wheels and stuff. Very nice.
They are a work of art, aren't they? Some of those catalogues actually are a genuine work of art. There's no CGI nonsense. Someone painstakingly illustrated those things. I meant to point out to you, Carrera doing those wacky sci-fi cars for the Chinese market or the Japanese market.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen
them? They're from some anime, aren't they? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it looks like they should be. Yeah, I noticed one of those for sale on Weevil's maybe store. I meant to point it out to you because I looked at it and just thought, mad rubbish. But there you go.
Well, talking of exciting fantasy stuff.
Rubbish.
No, except from Carrera.
Hang on, whoa. Let's not talk exciting fantasy stuff. I can't go on about Bo Derek again.
No. This one's got 6 wheels, or maybe 8. But the green race truck from Carrera, the British one,
it wasn't there.
No, another picture has appeared on the Carrera socials. So it's not it's getting closer. It's getting closer. I'm excited for that
building.
One. So yes, we our friend at Carrera, who will remain nameless for now. So yes, we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that arriving. You are going to want to touch it when it arrives. We'll leave it at that.
I am going to not touch it with a barge pole. No, if it pleases your little heart, Scott, you pick one up.
I mean, I don't know what I'll do with it. It's probably still not as big as a Fab 1, but that's. No. Is it the biggest? Is it going to be the biggest slot car ever?
Ever. It has to be. It was massive.
It was massive.
I don't even think it'll fit in the same bigger box that they have for those Blues Brothers police cars, which apparently are hitting the shop soon. The non Is it a Blues Brother? There's a police car version, and I heard him say something about they will be out shortly.
I saw maybe
for all you people who pre-ordered.
Yeah, it looks very nice, very long, but it's nice. So no, it was a good show, and I think hats off to the organisers for putting it together because it's not easy. And hats off to everybody who came along and put on, as I say, the tracks to run. There was the Goodwood one where you had to cycle to power the car, and there was one
that was amazing. I loved that model. I didn't like the concept of having to pedal around it, but the actual model, the scenery was just stellar. I took a couple of photos of that, and I just thought, wow, I doff my hat. Yeah. I do like a good scenic track, me. I do like I like a cheese ball and a scenic track. That's what I like.
But a measure for those that get them, how varied and comprehensive it was. There was a room that had a track, figure of 8, made up of the old 1/24th scale 3-lane Scalextric track.
He's always there, though, isn't he?
Is he? Well, I have never seen that before. Yeah. Never seen it before. So that was a treat.
No, I think it's sad that they tuck him away in a corner. He's in a little room on his own, and he wasn't getting much love when I popped in there. But it's interesting stuff, isn't it? 3-lane 1/24th stuff.
Yeah, lovely. Talking of lanes, interesting that chatting to one of the Minic guys who'd made a layout. And he'd made a 5-lane track because I'd forgotten this, as well as this traditional 2-lane pieces that you could get from Minic. There was a single-lane piece, I guess what you might call like a pit lane in modern Scalextric or Carrera parlance, which he put in the middle, and it fitted so you could make a 5-lane track out of 2, 1, and 2. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
What scale is Minic?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'll say HO, but I'm not really sure what HO is either. It's not. Was that 1/72 or something?
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate it is. As a child, I saw the buildings I had. I saw the bus that I had. I saw the mail. I mean, I saw this. It was great. And the guy I was telling, oh, I got this, and he sort of turned around and said, oh, was it this one? And that's such a lovely moment when there's something from your childhood that you only have a memory of, and somebody can put it in front of you and you can hold it again. It's great.
Yeah, that's great.
It's lovely stuff.
It is a brilliant show. Great choice of venue and just brilliant. I got lost trying to get out downstairs in the museum. I went round and round in circles, and twice went past Jackie Stewart's car that they've got down there, and I have to go back to Gaydon soon just to spend some time in the museum, because that thing is just, some of the cars they've got there, amazing. I'm not keen on the bright orange Interceptor, but I would like a closer look at wee Jackie Stewart's car, because that's fantastic. I would also like to say, before we finish up, I had an eBay sale happen just before the festival, and I offered to take the thing up there for the guy to pick up, and I think he said, no, I'm not going. And then he did go, and he bumped into me and said hello, and I had actually found a few more bits and bobs that I just handed to him. So he was a charming chap as well. Hello, Chris. Thank you. You are a scholar and a gent as well.
Oh, good. Well, you spoiled my name-dropping moment, because I was about to say that there's a couple of cars in that museum that I worked on when they were top secret.
Oh, my God.
But the moment's passed, so I won't mention it now.
I don't think that counts, though, because to be a name drop, you have to know and retell a conversation you had with the driver, not just I worked on that car. That's not good enough.
There's a conversation with the stylist who made it. Count? I don't know. Anyway,
that's quite high on the list. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
Anyway, it's all water under the bridge now. So hats off to everybody for Slot Festival. A year to come to the next one, except it isn't really, because there's the Winter Slot Fest, which is in the same place, slightly smaller, not all the tracks, but still a bit of a fix at Gaydon. And there's, of course, other swap meets before then. But before that, we've got...
How many sleeps until December?
Too many to count for a man my age. But more importantly, it's only a week or so until the Abergavenny Slot Rally, which I'm going to, and you're not yet. And I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll be talking a lot more about rally cars. And then the week after that, it's the Le Mans 24 hours.
Oh,
you don't know.
That's not boring. No, I was yawning at the rally.
All right, okay. Le Mans 24 hours. Which, I spend the whole month of May watching old races and reading books and stuff. So by the time the new one comes around, I'm usually pretty sick of it. But no, I really look forward to it. And great year because of the new cars. It's the 100th anniversary of the first one. There's going to be Jensen Button in a NASCAR. I mean, it's just going to be... Well, I'm more excited about the Le Mans than I have been for a very long time, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint.
I also think we've gone past the days of Audi being super boring and just winning endlessly, and it's suddenly got interesting again. I'm increasingly interested in these hypercars. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm getting very darned close to. I will certainly be tuning in, Pedro. We should dedicate the next show to Le Mans shizzle.
The next one or the next but one? Because
the next but one. Sorry, I was keeping up.
Yeah, the next but one. This is 22. The next but one will be 24, which seems kind of, cosmically predetermined that we should talk about long. But that's for the future.
Also,
yes.
Jumping around in the most unseamless manner, I should point out, or I want to point out, that if you've got the swap meet bug, haven't. The haven't swap meet is surely the next one. It's smaller, it's more bijou, but it's a good one. I like the haven't swap meet.
I do too, not least because it's fairly local. Which is handy for me. No, there are swap meets happening all over the place, and it's worth going. You might meet one of us, God help you. But thank you. I said at point saying thank you. There was a few people came up and said hello, which is very nice. It's always a bit disconcerting, but thank you. So far, only people who've liked the podcast have come up and said hello. So, but if you don't like it, come and say hello as well. But anyway, thank you for those guys. That was people get in touch. It's nice to hear from you. So, thank you for listening. Until next time, I'll say goodbye. Pedro.
Goodbye.